Now I'll take a closer look at the insides of the camera. You'll notice that the power source here, I have them attached to a shelf. Now the shelf, as you'll notice, is just Velcroed in. I do that for several reasons. Most importantly, because if anything ever has to be worked on inside the camera, it comes out relatively easily. There's no cutting of glue or tape or anything of that nature. You'll also notice inside the camera I include what I can call a field setting card. It has all of the recommended settings for the camera to help optimize the performance of the camera. There's usually a silicone or desiccant packet that combats any moisture that builds up through condensation and temperature change. Now the S40 unit that we're looking at today, as well as all of the S600 units that I build, I include a micro or a jumper switch. This isn't a necessity, but I think it's critical, especially for folks getting their first exposure with the homebrew trail camera that has a 4-wire HAG. This will allow you to easily check out those settings. So now that we have the camera apart, just to quickly review again, we have the power supply. That's the C cells that provide reserve power to the camera, the 9-volt that provides the power to the board, the micro switch or the jumper switch, the silicon, and the card. You'll notice here on the board itself, you'll see the DIP switches at the bottom. Aligning the DIP switches with the sticker that's included in the box lid, you'll be able to adjust the camera to function in the way that is most appropriate for you. Anywhere from 15-second to 30-minute delays. The S40 will take daytime video, and again, all of that information is in here. You'll just have to make sure that that picture slide is on video. So let's take a look at the camera itself. The camera itself is going to slide out. It is connected in here. You're going to turn this camera on, and when you turn the camera on, you're going to see the message on the camera that says, "Turn the power on and off again." That is the message you want to see. That means the camera has been prepared properly and it's ready for operation. The S40 takes a MS memory card. I highly recommend the 512 megabyte MS card. I know plenty of folks out there that run these cameras with 1 and 2 gigabyte cards, but when I design a S40 camera, this particular unit was designed for speed, to be as fast as I can with an S40. The 512 megabyte camera helps maximize that. The larger the card, the camera has to read through that free memory space before it can store a picture. It slows the camera down a little bit, usually negligible. The power supply, internal power supply, goes right in the right hand side of the camera. I want to take a minute to talk about this because this is of critical importance. In a camera, in any homebrew camera, when there's an external or reserve power set, you never want to mix lithium batteries in this combination, any way, shape, or form. Now, if you want to just run lithiums, you could throw 2 AA lithiums in here and put it out. Forget about the externals. You don't have to worry about it. This particular unit will probably catch anywhere between 200 and 500 pictures on a single set of AA E2 energizers. But again, this particular unit was designed for it to be out in the field a little longer, so with the C cells. Now you can run alkalines in both, you can run rechargeables in both, but my personal preference to get the best of both worlds is to run a high quality rechargeable battery with a low discharge rate, and the Sanyo end loops are really the hallmark of those type of batteries. You want to run those inside the camera and then a standard alkaline outside. I usually try to stick with Duracell or Energizer. I try to stay away from some of the lesser brands. It's very frustrating to come to your camera set after 2 weeks and find out the batteries are dead, obviously. So charge the batteries, set them in there, and set, again, rechargeables inside, alkaline outside, and you're set to go. Now we'll take a look at the camera operation. You'll turn the camera on. Again, you're going to see that message. Turn the power off and on. You can actually see in the background a little bit, but it's kind of hazy. You're going to take your jumper and you're going to just flip that switch. You're going to turn your camera off and then turn it back on again. And now you'll notice that you don't see that message anymore, and furthermore you see all of the icons that indicate the camera's been properly set up. If this camera wasn't wired into this box, you'd be able to take it around your house or in the field and use it as a point and shoot camera. what you want to do is make sure that your camera settings are aligned with the recommended settings. These are just recommended settings. I know a lot of folks out there that run S40s and they play with the settings. Sometimes they change the ISO, they change the focus. That's up to you. These are the recommended settings that help maximize the potential of this camera. The way you adjust them, now that the camera has been jumped back to normal, you just hit the menu button, which is located right there, and you use your arrow dial to run through those settings. I do want to mention just a couple of real quick things that to help. You want to absolutely make sure that the flash is all the way up with the plus. You also want to make sure when you get to the record mode that it's in normal. If it ends up in burst or multi-burst, it kind of doesn't work properly. And then I think this is important to mention that in the first mode, the camera mode, this is where your date and time features are. If you want the date and time to be on your picture, you want to make sure it says date and time over there and not off. But the three below that, red eye reduction, AF illuminator, and auto review, you really want to make sure all three of those are turned off. Now, they're not going to shut your camera down or anything, but they cause a significant drain on the power supply to your camera, whether it's just 2 or 4 batteries. So you really want to make sure those are turned off. Another key feature that I've kind of adopted over the years is formatting the card every time. You'll go down 2 more sections, you'll see the format. I believe this is important because I have had experiences where my laptop, my home PC, my dad's PC, I throw a card in there and then I throw the card back in here and the camera won't read it for some reason. It won't store a picture. I don't have a scientific explanation. I'm thinking that perhaps card readers maybe install a little program to help them read it. I really don't know. But the best way to combat that is throw your card in, go ahead and format your card. You just use it, highlight OK, highlight OK. You can see how fast it is. It's really just a second and it's done. You hit back to the menu and now you can see, you'll see, well, let me just show you one more thing here. If you go all the way down, there's your opportunity to set the time and date again to make sure that that's appropriate for your area. So we're just about ready to run this. You hit the menu button. You're going to see that screen again with the camera on. You're going to go ahead and flip your jumper switch back, and you're going to see that message again. Now you're almost ready. This is very important for the S40 builds. If that LCD display screen is on, 9.5 times out of 10, the camera will not operate. Every once in a while it will, but 9.5 times out of 10 it won't. What you need to do is turn that LCD display screen off. You do that by using this lower right-hand button right here. Press the button, and you'll see the camera's still on, but the LCD display screen is off. And that's the button that does that. So you turn the LCD display screen off, you turn the power off, and now we're just about set. You'll see the telescoping lens is partially extended. Again, taking a look at the inside of this camera, this particular camera was not built with a security tube. A lot of times I use the security tube as the shelf. In this particular case, I've installed a shelf. So you're going to take this camera and you're going to set it right up on that shelf, pushing it up against the flash gasket that's inside. You'll notice that I have left this micro switch loose, and I've done that on purpose. My rationale for leaving it loose is that if that board ever needs to be worked on for any reason, and that is a distinct advantage about homebrews. If a wire breaks in there, it's nothing to solder it back on or use a terminal block to tighten down a wire. So by leaving this loose, you have the opportunity to move that board in and out with no problem. I've cut a little slot up here. That switch slides right in. You're going to go ahead and make sure your board is set the way you want it in accordance with these settings. This particular board, one of my preferred settings is to take 2 pictures and then a 1-minute delay behind the second picture. I've gone ahead and adjusted those DIP settings accordingly. I throw the desiccant pack back in, I take my card, I set my card back in there, fold it up. A lot of guys don't use those, but I run so many cameras in so many places, sometimes I kind of forget the optimum settings, so just to make sure I don't forget them. And then you're just going to take your power supply and set it back in. Now you're just about ready. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera on. Well, actually, before that, you want to check and make sure that everything's situated perfectly. And I'm glad I did that because I can tell here, I don't know if you can tell, that camera inside is actually tilted just slightly upwards. All I'm going to do is situate that in there level. There we go with my hand, and now it's ready to go. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn this camera on and set it up and show you that operation. Did you turn it off?